like I see you on my screen.
I had to make one for you.
Fantasy.
It's like I can feel you next to me under the covers.
You like a drug.
You're my fantasy. You're my Halle Berry, Janet Jackson, my Nicki Minaj, Alicia Keys. You're my fantasy, my fantasy. You're my fantasy, my fantasy. You're my Megan Good, Taraji Henson, Serena Williams, Venus Girl. You're my fantasy, my fantasy. You're my fantasy, my fantasy. You're my
Smile when I sleep,
You're my
sleep when I dream,
You're my
dream when I'm free.
You're my
Family over streets,
You're my
so made from birth,
You're my
birth from this darkness,
You're my
darkness and comfort,
You're my
comfort through hardship.
You're my
One and only best friend and lover. No need for another. Come boy, see smother. Ring on my finger, back rub in the hot tub. Fingertips on the temple, everything twice over. You're my,
Halle Berry, Janet Jackson.
You're my
Nicki Minaj, Alicia Keys.
You're my
fantasy, my fantasy.
You're my
fantasy, my fantasy.
You're my
Megan Good, Taraji Henson,
You're my
Serena Williams, Venus Girl.
You're my
fantasy, my fantasy.
You're my
Fantasy, my fantasy. You're my champagne on birthdays, ice for no reason. You're my
broken hearted beauty, soldier for Jesus. A perfected picture, picture that's perfect. How come you tripping? I know you worth it. Pretty eyes and big smile, pretty lips and dimples. Baby fat, I mean it. Pretty hot and tempting. Peaceful frustration, frustration at times. Mother and homegirl, everything 3 times.
Halle Berry, Janet Jackson,
You're my,
my Nicki Minaj, Alicia Keys.
you're my.